Double or Nothing is this weekend, and we here at BunkaMania Wrestling are going to give our predictions on what is sure to be another great pay-per-view from All Elite Wrestling. Welcome to BunkaMania Wrestling, everybody. I am the Giraffe, me, Jeremy Graves. Joining me, of course, is my cohort on all things BunkaMania Wrestling. Quite frankly, he's actually the head of the ship, but I like to say it in that way. It is, of course, the Dekker, Dane, Mr. Ian Bolton. Good sir, how are you doing? And are you ready to make it double or nothing on your bets on this pay-per-view?
Well, obviously, gamble responsibly. That's the first important thing we need to say on this show. But yes, double or nothing. Always a fun, entertaining show. There's always a couple of good highlights on the AEW card for the entire for the year. So I'm looking forward to this one. This should be fun, especially headlined by the Four Pillars. I have high hopes for this card. I think this will be a fun show.
Yeah, the card up and down looks really, really good. So I'm excited to discuss it with you, quite frankly, because I think this is going to be another great show from AEW. And just to sort of pick a match at random, as it were, because there isn't necessarily a card order that has been published ahead of this show. Let's begin with a ladder match, because it is going to be Wardlow defending the TNT Championship against Christian Cage. This match has come about because of Christian saying some pretty bad things, quite frankly, in reference to Arn Anderson and Wardlow and Wardlow's father and such. So lots of bad blood. Christian continuing to be a classic dick, as it were. But it escalated on Dynamite recently when Wardlow was put through, quite literally, a ladder by Luchasaurus. So this has led to a ladder match. I'll be honest, the idea of Christian being in a ladder match, given all the injuries he's had, it kind of worries me from that perspective. But that said, he's a great wrestler, and I'm sure he's going to work this in a way to make sure it's as safe as possible for him and whatnot. Ultimately, I don't think Wardlow's going to lose this. But that being said, if Christian were to win this and to perhaps put some proper focus again on the TNT Championship and have a bit more consistency and regularity with it, I wouldn't be opposed to it, because the TNT title still just doesn't feel, quite frankly, very important right now.
I think it's in some parts it is mostly down to the hot potato in of the belt, because obviously we've had Wardlow, we've had Joe, we've had Powerhouse Hobbs over the last couple of months. I think some stability is needed probably with the belt. So instead of probably giving it to Christian, I would probably see Wardlow retaining this, to be honest. I think if Cage is somehow able to eke out a victory, I think it will have something to do with Luchasaurus, because you can. There are two ways this can go down. This is Wardlow could retain, and then you go a bit further with Wardlow, Luchasaurus towards the next big pay-per-views, which I think will be All In or All Out, something like that. So yeah, I think there's mileage there. It's I don't really have much to really kind of muse on this one, but I'm going to play it safe. I think Wardlow retains.
Yeah, I do think that is a good shout. And it's like I said, I'm kind of happy with either result, in fairness, in the grand scheme of things, given what it could lead to. But logic at this point, well, let me put it this way. Given how quickly this has become a ladder match, I feel this program isn't over and this feud must continue, is kind of my mindset behind it. So that is definitely a prediction I have in mind for this. Up next, we have got the TBS Championship. It is the champion Jade Cargill, now at 60 wins, I believe it is, on her win counter, going up against Taya Valkyrie. Now, these two have had a match previously where the Jaded / the Road to Valhalla, from Taya Valkyrie's point of view, was barred from the match in terms of Taya using it. That's now been moved away. There have been a lot more bad blood and such. This is going to be the definitive match between the two. And I'm going to call it now. I think Taya's going to win. I think we're finally going to see Jade dethroned. And I'll be honest as well, this is the most I have cared about a TBS Championship in a long time. Jade has had some great matches. We've seen her improve, but the direction of her just constantly beating, in essence, kind of local talent / very low on the card people, it hasn't lit my world on fire. And I think we've said that kind of a good few times on pay-per-view predictions and previous videos as well. So my feeling on this is that finally and actually Taya is going to dethrone Jade on this show. On this show.
Yeah, I could go with that. I think it's like I'm really torn, because it's like I always, it's like, it's no disrespect to the talent that gets lined up against Jade, but it's just No, I've never really felt like this is the moment that this is going to happen. And so when it does happen, it might be a very pleasant shock or it might be a very lukewarm squid. I'm not entirely certain. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if Taya wins, great. I think that'll be great. It'll be nice to give the belt some new life, a little bit more energy into it, I suppose. As much as Jade has been a great champion, as much as Jade has been a charismatic superstar for AEW, something needs to change. Something does need to change. Jade could focus her attention on the AEW Women's Championship or something along those lines, or have a couple of other feuds where the win-loss ratio doesn't really factor in that much into the storyline or into the prestige of the character, I suppose. But then again, I would not be surprised if Jade retains at this rate. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I think Jade will retain.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if that happens either, just to make me look like a complete dunderhead. But that said, though, I think one thing we can collectively agree on is that the TBS title needs a bit of an adrenaline injection put back into it. It needs to have a bit of a spruce up, just the division as a whole. And also, I think as well, I think the Jade brand as a whole, because remember, that was a thing in the early days of Jade Cargill. I think the Jade brand kind of needs a bit of rejuvenation as well in some way. And this feud of Taya has done that to a degree, but it's just, is the title going to change? We will ultimately see on the show. Next up, on one of my, I think, matches on the show that I think is going to be such good fun. If I could get my words out properly, that would really help. But it is for the tag team titles. It is FTR defending against Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal. The big element of this, though, potentially, is the fact that Mark Briscoe will be the special guest referee. And a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite, we saw that Dax accidentally pile drive Mark Briscoe after he had alcohol spewed in his eyes, and then Mark Briscoe was thrown his way by Jeff Jarrett. Briscoe was not particularly happy about it. So that kind of adds a little bit of dissension to the ranks of, quite frankly, these guys who have bled with each other in the ring, and that's part of their special bond. I'm really looking forward to this match. I don't want FTR to lose just because I want to see them have a really long and amazingly great title reign. But again, to kind of play devil's advocate against myself, I'm really liking this heel group that's got Jarrett, Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, and now Karen Jarrett after a recent Dynamite episode. It's this group of just almost bumbling heels is just great fun. So I'm all for them kind of still being a bit of a bigger fixture on the show, but I still want FTR to hold those belts so we can have some more classic tag team title matches.
Yeah, I think FTR retain. I'm not in any doubt about this, to be perfectly honest. I think Briscoe will be there to probably try and call it down the middle, fair and square, and then the heels will do something, or the heels will either do something again, or they'll get caught out by Mark, and yeah, he'll beat them up and help FTR retain. But yeah, it just sets FTR for hopefully a decent summer against some exciting teams, maybe an elite rematch, who knows? But yeah, I can't really say any much more on this one. I think FTR retain.
Next up, honestly, we can't actually preview this properly at the time we're recording this, which, for point of reference, is prior to Dynamite having aired, but it is for the International Championship. It is going to be the Orange Cassidy Blackjack Battle Royal, where it will be Orange Cassidy essentially versus 20 other people in the match. The only confirmed names at this time being Aaron Solo, QT Marshall, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Obviously, there's going to be another 17 people included in this match. One would assume we may get some returning faces we've not seen in a while, because although not a casino battle royal, where people traditionally, because there was one time where this never happened, they come out in the suits of the card, I get the feeling this is Orange Cassidy's lazy equivalent of a casino battle royal, so maybe we'll get people entering at different points. Again, haven't got all the rules and such clarified at time of recording. I suppose the bigger question, Ian, regardless of who ultimately may win this, though that said, Powerhouse Hobbs could potentially be an interesting shout, does ultimately Orange Cassidy retain the belt, assuming he is champion, because again, we're recording this before Dynamite and he's due to defend the belt against Kyle Fletcher on that show. Ultimately, will the champion going into this match retain the belt in this match?
I think there's a strong shot for Orange Cassidy to retain the belt. He's been having a very good run with the belt, to be honest. And considering we were all a little bit uncertain what on earth this belt was going to be, it's actually been quite nice for Orange Cassidy to take this belt, have it nice and steady. It's kind of like what we kind of wanted to see with the TNT title for a while, and it's a safe, reliable pair of hands. I mean, I would not be surprised if Cassidy retains on this one. I wouldn't, though. You could have a shot. You could have a shot return. I mean, we've seen Miro return backstage, and if we're going to set up for Collision, Miro coming back in, getting a belt as well would be quite a statement as well to make ahead of Collision. You never know.
Andrade might be one.
Andrade's another one. Good shout, Andrade. That would possibly be a good one. But yeah, I can't really. But then again, Powerhouse Hobbs is being featured on the Collision materials as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's good shout there as well. I mean, I think Cassidy will retain.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will, through laziness or a bit of Danhausen help. Or maybe Shocker or Danhausen becomes the international champion for a shocker.
I wonder if he's back from injury, because he had to get surgery recently on a shoulder or a pec, I think. One or the other. So I'm not sure if he's going to be cleared, but either way, it'd be fun to see him.
It would be fun. I think if anyone else was to take the belt off him, I'd go Miro. Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe shout, actually.
Yeah.
So the Orange Cassidy thing, I mean, Tom and I have been discussing this on our recent Dynamite and Rampage review podcast, which you can listen to now in the archives here on BunkaMania Wrestling, folks. But the thing that Tom put so eloquently was that the international title is arguably the best thing about AEW at the moment, because Orange has had so many title defense. I think it's like 21 or 22 now by this point. It's the longest running thing in that gradual story of how much longer can he keep this up? And now he's got to basically beat 20 other guys. I wonder if this is going to be a really awkward Goldberg thing where, like, if he eliminates all 20, they add another 20 to his record for title defenses. Hopefully not. But either way, I would like to see Orange retain. But if there was ever an opportunity for him to lose the belt and it literally just be the odds were just overly stacked against him, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
So next up on the show, unsanctioned match, Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole. Now, a crucial detail as well when it comes to unsanctioned matches in AEW is that this will not count towards the win-loss record for either participant. So this won't count towards that. Everything that happens, is legal, but not AEW's fault, as it were. I think this is going to be a very bloody match. I think this will probably be one of the more... Well, I mean, I was about to say the most violent match on the show. It won't be, given what else is on the show. We'll get to that in a few moments. But I think this is going to be a really fun match. I fully expect Britt Baker, to get involved in some way and perhaps be a thorn in Jericho's side. Will be interesting to see if maybe someone on the JAS side gets involved to counteract Britt Baker, because technically Ty, Mello, and Anna Jay are still part of the JAS, so it'll be interesting to see if they were to involve themselves, and what of undisputed people, as it were. Roderick Strong's in the fray. At some point, Kyle O'Reilly, we assume, will come back, but it's just a question of, is he healed up from his injury yet? So lots of different moving parts in this. But the big question, who is going to get the win on this? I think I'm going to go with Adam Cole. Jericho doesn't need to win this, but I think this is going to be quite the spectacle to watch. So I am going to go with an Adam Cole win.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think out of the 2 stars, Cole coming back off the concussion injury he suffered many, many months ago, I think it's a good sort of rubber stamp of saying Cole is back on the big stage and he's ready to compete. And I think going through a hellacious unsanctioned match with Jericho is probably the best way to go about it. You're right. I think we're going to see some interferences from both JLS. That's a band. Wouldn't it be funny if JLS came out to help the JS?
I mean, at this point, to be fair, they probably have made a music video at this point in AEW. They near enough have.
Book it for All In. There you go. JLS introducing the JS. It's done. It's fine. Simple edit. Simple mistake. I've managed to sort of work into this discussion. I think the JAS and people from Cole's side of things will probably get into little scuffles as well. But yeah, I think Jericho will fall to the boom again.
Then we come to the women's world title match. Jamie Hayter defending against Toni Storm of the Outcasts. The big story going into this match is that Jamie Hayter's shoulder meant she could not be cleared recently for a big trios tag match that was rescheduled into a tag match. And Toni Storm kind of claiming, I'm going to get my belt back after that match they previously had at Full Gear, was the November pay-per-view, if memory serves. Freaking phenomenal match that was as well. So ultimately, we are going to come down to this match, a big high-profile rematch. I hope Jamie Hayter retains, but either way, I am looking forward to seeing this match. I think this could be one of the show stealers, personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're going to have a really good match between these two again. Full Gear's match was really, really cool. Had a really good defining moment for Hayter. I think if Toni is to win, it will probably be through shenanigans of the Outcasts. So either Ruby or Saraya will get involved. Other than that, again, it's like, I could see it going either way. I think if I had a preference, I would like to see Jamie Hayter retain, because I think Hayter retaining and keeping that belt probably all the way through to probably All In would be quite good fun as well. Or again, you can make a case. Toni wins the belt and then it's the recoronation at Wembley. Could happen either way. I'm going to play it safe. I think Hayter retains.
There we go. Well, in terms of playing it safe, I expect that to not happen in the next match. Anarchy in the Arena. Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. If last year's Anarchy in the Arena match is anything to go by, this is going to be crazy, completely nuts, off the wall, and damn right insane in places. I am very much looking forward to this. The reunion of the Elite on Dynamite was a fantastic moment. There's also been some fantastic things going around online of people kind of editing in like the Avengers theme music from the MCU with the Elite returning and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I'm so game for this and I'm so up for this match. This is going to be ridiculously wild. But in terms of who is going to win, I don't think this feud is going to be over by a long shot. If we're going to get a blood and guts match, that's not the word, blood and guts match, excuse me, I think this is going to be either this or perhaps an Outcast versus Hayter, Storm, and Shida, for example. Kind of that realm of things. But I see this leading towards another high profile, this feud must continue style match. Probably blood or guts. So I'm going to say a Blackpool Combat Club win. That's where I'm going to go with this. And I think Don Callis will be part of the reason for that.
Yeah. I think heels winning probably makes sense here. In terms of Anarchy in the Arena match, let's have Carry On My Wayward Son playing for like 10 minutes this time around instead of Wild Things. That was insane last year, how Wild Thing just kept playing. It's like, this is the unofficial soundtrack to this match. Carry on, chaps.
In fairness, I want that to happen again, but this time I want Moxley to be the one who shuts it off and not Jericho. He's like, no, you're not going to have my music. I refuse.
Yeah, I think you're right. If last year's Anarchy in the Arena match is anything to go by, this is gonna be all over the shop, and it's gonna be gloriously violent as well. But yeah, I think even though we've got the Elite back together, I think the defining victory over the Hills isn't gonna probably come here, because I think Hangman still has like the eye patch still, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. He still has his eye patch, so maybe Hangman's visual impairment might be the thorn in the side, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think Blackpool Combat Club take this one.
So I suppose we're gonna have like a little violence scale prediction here. Is this going to be more violent than last year's Anarchy in the Arena?
I mean, Jeremy, you've put this question out with the knowledge that Jon Moxley's in this match.
He was in it last year as well.
Yes. And the blood will flow. It's kind of like it's a guarantee, blood in Jon Moxley matches.
I mean, think of it as well. We've had the match with Adam Page at the last pay-per-view that was really damn violent. We've had the recent cage match. Like, Moxley is literally on like a blood rain at the moment. So,
I think it will get very. I think this is going to get very bloody. It's like if you're establishing Blackpool Combat Club as this violent faction, as this sort of like this like this fighting faction that delivers hellacious violence. I totally expect a lot of Crimson Masks in this, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, let's ask a different question. If anyone's not going to have a Crimson Mask by the time this match has ended, who will not have a Crimson Mask? I'm going to say Nick Jackson.
So you're going Nick Jackson. I'm going to say Claudio.
Oh, okay. Fair.
I'm not used to seeing Claudio bleed, especially in WWE era as well. I'm not used to seeing him bleed. I mean, we've seen it with Danielson. We've seen the blood. We've seen it with Moxley. I think we've seen it with Kenny. We've seen it. Yeah, I just don't see Claudio getting bloodied. He might lose a tooth like he did in the SummerSlam match many years ago.
But will there be a beach ball for him to crush? That's the other question.
Oh, if they're going to the crowd and someone happens to have something inflatable or novelty, it's going to die.
So, it's sort of to kind of link as a cheap plug here. We on the BunkaMania channel here actually put up a video very recently about what should be the main event of Double or Nothing. Should it be Anarchy in the Arena, or should it be the four-way match? You can check that out now in the podcast and YouTube archives. For the purposes of this discussion, we are going to be having this match be the main event, that being the four-way match for the AEW World Championship. Jungle Jack Perry, MJF the champion, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara. There's lots of different ways this could go, obviously. I kind of mused the fact on a recent Dynamite review podcast that I think Jungle Jack Perry might be turning heel. There's kind of an element where he's been behaving a little bit standoffish, a little bit dickish a few weeks ago in a promo. And there was a backstage moment before the big tag match that kind of saw the four-way being set up, where MJF was backstage and kind of said to him, look, you're great, but you can't do this how you are. You need the extra help. Someone like me, consider it. There was the whole idea of paying Sammy Guevara off, which isn't going to happen now, but could that money perhaps go to Jungle Jack? I don't know. Loads of different directions going on. Either way, I'm sure Darby and or Sammy are going to try and muller each other in some ridiculous way that only they can do. So I guess this comes down to one who is going to win, or simply, is MJF going to retain? I don't know which one you want to answer first, sir, but for the purposes of discussion, I am going to say I think MJF will retain.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he absolutely will. Again, it's one of those skin of the teeth victories. He'll find a way to eke out a victory, whether it's taking advantage of someone doing a shock turn or someone just hitting their finisher on someone else and just capitalizing it before it's too late. Yeah, I think. Again, it's like I can't see MJF losing the belt, to be perfectly honest, because even though we've had a nice little story build to this, I think we've had a little bit of fun with the Four Pillars tournament and all that sort of stuff. Again, it's like you can't. I think the crowning moment of MJF falling happens in a one-on-one match. I think that a fatal four-way just seems like, yes, anything can happen, but if you take the belt out without MJF either being pinned or involved in the decision, kind of maybe lessens the reign of terror that he's promised since the start of his reign.
That's a very, very fair point. Okay, so for the purposes of discussion then, let's just say MJF loses the belt at the pay-per-view. Who dethrones him? If you had to pick one, who do you go with?
Darby.
Agreed.
Yeah,
completely.
I think out of the three of them, he's the one. He's probably the most baby-faced with the crowd, and I think that would get the biggest reaction as well. And also, I think it's cementing him as the next big pillar star. I mean, he's already a very big major star for AEW, and I think this will just cement it even further. As much as Jungle Man, Jungle Jack. I mean, on the graphics, it's Jungle Boy, but it's like, no, he's done concertos. He's not a Jungle Boy anymore. He's a Jungle Man.
I still just say, just call him Jungle Jack. Like, that works.
Yeah. So I think even with the story and obviously the real life element of obviously Perry wrestling past, obviously with his father passing away a couple of years ago, obviously trying to establish his own legacy. I think that is a feel good moment for a babyface victory. If he's going to go heel, it doesn't work here. And Sammy winning, I think the crowd will be less than ecstatic if Sammy won. Sammy's a great wrestler. I just think at this moment in time, I don't think the crowd will probably be appreciative of a victory as they would have been many, many years ago in earlier AEW times. But no, if anyone other than MJF's winning, I think it'll be Darby.
Very fair point, and I do completely agree, quite frankly. So, folks, that is a Double or Nothing preview. There are likely going to be a few more matches added by the time you are hearing this. One of them we already know, in that it's Ethan Page and the Guns versus the Hardys, the Hardy Party, as it's being phrased, which is Matt and Jeff Hardy and Brother Zay, Isaiah Cassidy. The stipulation of this being, if the Hardy Party wins, Ethan Page's contract belongs to Matt Hardy. So kind of a reverse deal of what happened with Matt Hardy's contract and such. I'm going to assume if that's not on the main show, that will probably be on the pre-show, assuming there is one. Because, again, at time of announcing this, they have not actually announced one. One assumes there will also be a match involving Ricky Starks and Jay White that will be added, and perhaps one more match will be added to the fray as well. But, folks, we hope you enjoy Double or Nothing. We will have a review coming up early this coming week. All going well, should be available come Tuesday or Wednesday time, so you can look forward to that here on the BunkaMania channels and the podcast feed accordingly. Good sir, before we close up this prediction show, any final thoughts or anything else you would like to convey to our wonderful, adoring listeners?
No, I just think this is going to be a really good show. It's a very busy weekend of wrestling. So whether you're watching AEW Double or Nothing or WWE Night of Champions, or even going the extra hog and watching NXT Battleground, I think this will be a very fun weekend for any wrestling fan out there.
Completely agree. And if you've enjoyed this video and any of the other videos on our channel, please do tell a friend. If you want to hit the like button, please do so. And if you're enjoying listening on the go and such, why not hit the subscribe button? We'd really appreciate that. And of course, you will then get the latest podcast direct to your podcast feed or to your YouTube feed, quite frankly, whichever you so desire to follow us on. From myself, Jeremy Graves, from him, Mr. Ian Bolton, we've been BunkaMania Wrestling. Until this very busy weekend is over, take care, and we'll speak to you soon.